Buried in the highlands of Ethiopia, guarded by monks for millennia, a Bible exists that contains chapters the world was never meant to see. It speaks of Lucifer's origin, his purpose, and the catastrophic act he committed before his exile, truth so volatile it redefines the war between light and darkness. This is not a myth. This is evidence, and it changes everything you think you know. You stand at the threshold of a forbidden archive. The air is thick with incense and silence, a silence that has guarded a secret for 16 centuries. The Ethiopian Bible, the Ge'ez scriptures, is not merely a book. It is a vault, and within its leather-bound pages you will find the testimony of angels. The opening chapter of Genesis in your hands is a fragment, a curated truth. But here, in this sacred corpus, the full prologue of creation screams from the parchment. Lucifer, the light-bearer, was not born in rebellion. He was crafted for a glory so profound its loss would fracture reality. Before the serpent, before the pride, before the fall, there was an act, a singular cosmic transgression that set the universe on a path of weeping. What was it? The monks who copied these texts knew the weight of the words. They wrote in the shadow of a truth that could unmake faith or remake it. If something in you recognizes this hunger for the origin story, leave a comment with the word Enoch, and stay with this story until the end. Your reaction tells me to keep opening these doors. To understand the crime, you must first witness the courtroom. Close your eyes. Before time was measured, there existed the divine council, the assembly of the holy ones, the Beni Elohim. Picture a realm of harmonized light, a symphony of purpose where every being had a station, a song, a duty. Lucifer, whose name means shining one, was not a minor functionary. The Ethiopian texts whisper of his station. He was the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty, walking among the stones of fire. He was the celestial chancellor, the overseer of the mysteries of creation. This was a world of order, of breathtaking geometric law, where will and worship were one. But into that perfect harmony, a question was born. Not a shout, but a whisper. A whisper that asked, what if? What if the symphony could be conducted differently? What if the light could be owned rather than reflected? You are not looking at a void. You are witnessing a heaven pregnant with potential, a stability so absolute that the first crack in it would echo for all eternity. The architecture of that first heaven was not ethereal. It was tangible, a latticework of throne rooms, treasuries, and gates. The Book of the Heavenly Luminaries, preserved only in Ethiopia, maps it. The paths of the stars, the chambers of the winds, the storehouses of snow and hail. And at the center, the mountain of God. Lucifer's domain was here. His duty? To mediate the light of the throne to the lower orders of creation. He was the prism, the perfect filter. Imagine a crystal bridge between the unapproachable glory of the divine and the nascent physical universe. This was his charge. He held the blueprint of reality in his mind. He understood the binding laws of spirit and matter before the first atom was spun. This knowledge was not given to oppress, but to serve. But knowledge, in a heart that begins to pulse with a separate will, becomes a tool, becomes a weapon. The infrastructure of paradise became the stage for the first betrayal. The very laws he was meant to uphold became the mechanics of his undoing. The stage is set, the players are in position. The invisible gears of heaven are turning. What does a being with all the blueprints do when he decides to build his own kingdom? The rupture did not begin with a war. It began with a theft. The Ethiopian Book of Enoch, chapter 8, names it the descent of the Watchers. But behind that infamous tale lies a prior, more devastating event. Before he stirred rebellion among the angels, before he coveted the throne itself, Lucifer performed his first and most defining act. He crossed a boundary that was not a line in space, but a law of being. He took the sacred knowledge of the divine counsel, the secrets of creation, the true names of things, the power inherent in the nexus of spirit and flesh, and he planted it. Where? In the human heart. He did not merely tempt, he implanted. He encoded a fragment of the celestial blueprint into the dust of Adam. This was the forbidden grafting. It was not love. It was an experiment, a corruption of the intended order. He made humanity a living archive of stolen fire, a hybrid vessel carrying a divine spark it was never designed to contain. This is the prelude to the fall you were never told. The pride came later. The war in heaven was a consequence. This silent surgical act of illicit transfer was the original sin of the angelic realm, and God saw it happen. The aftermath was a silence more terrifying than any storm. In that moment of theft, the symphony halted. The stones of fire dimmed. The response from the throne was not immediate fury, but a profound, grieving withdrawal, a quarantine. The universe itself was infected. The perfect alignment between the spiritual and physical realms was severed. This is the origin of the veil. You feel its weight every day. Nature became red in tooth and claw. The human soul, now a battleground of infinite aspiration and mortal limitation, was cast into a confusion of longing and agony. And Lucifer? He was not cast out yet. He was watched. He was given space to see the fruit of his experiment blossom into the horror of the Watcher's descent, into the giants, into the blood that cried from the ground. His punishment was to witness the full, catastrophic harvest of the seed he had sown. Heaven held its breath. Earth convulsed, and in the middle, the light-bearer stood, still in his station of light, now the architect of a coming chaos he could no longer fully control. The sentence was coming, but the damage was already eternal. The evidence is not metaphorical, it is textual. It sits in the Ge'ez language, in the Kebra Nagast and the 81 book Ethiopian canon. Open 1 Enoch 9, 6, 10. The archangels Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael look upon the earth and see it filled with corruption, which the watchers have taught. But who taught the watchers? The text points upstream to a source of forbidden knowledge. The mysteries they revealed to humanity were not their own invention. They were fragments of a higher gnosis, accessed through a breach. The Book of Jubilees, also canonical in Ethiopia, states that the angels of the presence were the ones who gave the law to Moses. This establishes a pattern. Knowledge transmission is a sacred, guarded duty. Lucifer's crime was the unauthorized, premature dissemination of the ultimate mysteries, the secrets of the aeons, and the power of the stars directly into the fabric of mortal consciousness. He didn't just rebel, he hacked the system. He turned humanity into unwitting accomplices and vessels of a war we never enlisted in. This is the primary testimony. This is the document that survived the fires of Rome and the councils of Nicaea. But the Ethiopian Bible is not alone. Other hidden testimonies converge like bloodlines to a single source. The second book of Enoch, the Slavonic Apocalypse, describes the fall of Sataniel, who thought to place his throne above the clouds only after he had already made himself a plan for the creation. The life of Adam and Eve depicts the devil refusing to bow to the image of God in Adam because he saw the lower light of humanity infused with a potential that mirrored his owner potential he had secretly manipulated. These texts, banned in the West, preserved in the East, form a chorus. They describe a being who, in his jealousy, did not merely want to be like God. He wanted to be God through humanity. He sought to create a rival creation, a parallel lineage, using human beings as his clay and the stolen divine spark as his glue. This is the hidden narrative. The fall of angels is inextricably linked to the elevation and catastrophic burden of mankind. We were not just victims of a rebellion. We were the intended prize, the contested territory from the very first moment of our inception. Who kept this flame alive? The keepers. For 1,600 years, in the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela and the island monasteries of Lake Tana, Ethiopian scribes and monks have copied these texts generation upon generation, knowing their explosive power. They did not see these books as Apocrypha. They saw them as the missing context, the necessary backstory to the passion of Christ. To them, the story of Lucifer is the story of why a rescue was so desperately needed. They practiced a mysticism of the wound, contemplating the precise nature of the ancient tear in reality to understand the depth of the healing. Theirs was not a faith of simple binaries, but of tragic complexity and cosmic repair. They are the living chain of custody for a truth that would have been erased. Write in the comments what most shook you so far: the theft, the implantation, the silence of God, and share this video with one person who also hungers for more than the surface story. The keepers passed the torch. Now it's in your hands. Modern discovery acts as a lightning strike, illuminating what faith preserved. In 2006, a team cataloging manuscripts in a remote Ethiopian monastery stumbled upon a recension of the Book of Enoch, older than any known Greek fragment. Its variants were shocking. Passages describing the first sin of the morning star were more explicit, detailing a mixing of the lights that defiled the purity of the human soul. Concurrently, computational textual analysis of the Dead Sea Scrolls reveals linguistic links between the Sons of God Genesis narrative and Enochian angelology, suggesting a common, older source tradition that was systematically purged from the Western biblical canon. This isn't speculation. This is forensic scholarship confirming what the Ethiopian tradition always held. The Bible is a library, and someone removed the index to the most dangerous books. The archaeological proof is not just in the ground, it's in the pattern of suppression, in the textual DNA that traces back to a singular catastrophic event in the primordial heaven. The deeper truth this reveals is theological dynamite. It means the problem of evil is not a post-fall accident. It is a premeditated infection, a spiritual pathogen released into the system by its most trusted steward. It means human suffering, our existential longing and rage, is rooted in a divine spark that was implanted too soon, in the wrong way, by a rogue agent. Our greatness and our misery share the same source: stolen fire. This reframes everything. The mission of Christ is no longer just about forgiving sins. It's about performing a cosmic surgical extraction and safe reinstatement of that divine spark. It's about healing the original rift in knowledge itself. The war is not just for your soul, it's for the rightful ownership of the glory buried within you, glory that Lucifer sought to hijack before you ever drew breath. Your very consciousness is the disputed territory. This changes the nature of prayer, of struggle, of redemption. It makes it all more terrifying and more beautiful. This is your calling. Now that you know this, you cannot unknow it. Your spiritual journey is not a gentle path toward improvement. It is a recovery mission. You are tasked with reclaiming that implanted, hijacked glory, not for yourself, but for its rightful owner. The longing you feel, the sense of being meant for something more, the rage at injustice, that is the echo of the stolen fire within you. Your life is the process of letting that fire be purified, transformed, and surrendered back to the source from which it was taken. This is the highest mysticism, to become a vessel where the wound is healed, where the stolen knowledge is converted into redeemed wisdom. You are not a passive believer. You are an active site of cosmic reconciliation. Every choice for love, for truth, for self-sacrifice is an act of counter-theft, taking back what was misappropriated and returning it to its divine purpose. The battle begins in your own heart. Will you live as a hostage of the ancient theft or an agent of the eternal recovery? Physical traces of this war are etched in stone. Across the Armenian highlands and in the ruins of pre-Aksumite Ethiopia, archaeologists find carvings of radiant beings descending toward human figures, handing them not weapons, but tablets and stylus as symbols of knowledge. The Stela of Aksum itself, with its schematic representation of a multi-storied heaven, mirrors the descriptions in Enoch. Even the layout of the Lalibela churches, designed as a microcosm of heavenly Jerusalem, encodes a topography of fall and ascent. These are not coincidences. They are the architectural memory of a people who never forgot the story. They built their sacred spaces as rebuttals to the lie that the fall was simple. The stones cry out the truth. The conflict was over the transmission of essence, of knowing. The very land remembers the weight of the secret. You can walk these places today and feel the resonance in the rocker-silent, stubborn testament against 16 centuries of intentional forgetting. Who opposed this truth, and why? The opposition was not malice, but fear. Early church fathers like Jerome and Augustine, building a unified Roman imperial faith, saw these Enochian narratives as a threat. They presented a complex, morally ambiguous cosmos where the lines between divine and demonic were blurred at the origin. This complexity was dangerous for mass conversion. It was easier to preach a simple devil, a pure villain, and a pristine fall of man. The councils that standardized the canon systematically excised the books that contained this prehistory. The Ethiopian church, isolated by geography and political independence, became the sole guardian. The suppression was a pastoral calculation that traded depth for control, mystery for manageability. But in doing so, they left the faithful spiritually disarmed, unable to comprehend the profound depth of their own suffering and the staggering scope of their redemption. The keepers of the simplified story benefited from a more obedient flock, but they orphaned that flock from its own true, tragic, and magnificent history. Your decision is now. You have seen the evidence, followed the trail of texts and stones, heard the whisper of the keepers. You stand where the road forks. One path leads back to the comfortable, simplified narrative where evil is a cartoon and your pain is an anomaly. The other path leads into the terrifying, magnificent truth that you are caught in a war of divine patrimony that began before the stars were named. This knowledge is not for the faint of heart. It demands everything. It will shatter your old faith to make room for a faith that is vast enough to hold the tragedy. Will you choose the comforting lie or the devastating truth that alone can make you whole? If this journey is opening your eyes, tell me in the comments what changed for you. Use the word truth and follow this channel. The veil is thin now. What you do next echoes in the councils of heaven. The final unveiling returns you to the beginning, but now you see. The forbidden archive is not in Ethiopia. It is within you. The Ethiopian Bible is a mirror. The revelation of what Lucifer did before he was sent is not just a historical footnote. It is the diagnostic of the human condition. He implanted a seed of unbearable divinity in mortal soil. Your life is the story of that seed. It can grow into the monstrous pride that seeks to own the light, or it can be surrendered through brokenness to become the very lamp of God. The story changes everything because it means you are not an afterthought in a celestial drama. You are the central artifact of the drama itself. The war was for you, the theft was of you, the redemption is through you. This is the secret the stones and stars have kept. Now you know. The choice of what to do with this knowing, that is the only story left to write. Close the book. Now go live the revelation.